Welcome to Tales from the Trials, the dog sports podcast all about getting you and your dog doing more things together. I'm Jazz, this is Michelle, and we're here. It's our first episode.
Episode 1.
This is weird.
Yeah.
We actually found this really cool studio to record in. Shout out to the E-Factory for letting us rent it from them.
For sure.
So, Michelle, what kind of dogs do you have?
Oh my gosh.
What do you do? What are dog sports?
So, I have 3. I have a Beagle Lab mix that we named after a water demon.
What is said water demon?
Right, yes. Dagon. Dagon has been doing scent work for, 10 years. We started in 2016. So 8
years.
8 and some change. And he has his elite nosework title with UKC.
Congratulations.
Thank
we will
you.
get into what all that means later.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's as high as you can get in that venue with that sport. Lots of fun things. We started out tracking because that dog could not walk on a leash. And our trainer was like, you have a tracking dog. You should try this. So we tried that. And then we kind of got away from tracking because tracking with a mixed breed rescue, finding trials is tricky. And again, we'll get into that a little bit later on. So we moved to scent work and it kind of snowballed from there. My second dog is a German Shepherd Collie Husky mix, which is as loud as it sounds. She was also a rescue. She's got some noise ring stress issues. And there are protocols that you can do to train that. It's not worth it for her or for me.
And how old is she again?
Put her through that. She is 8, I think, 8 or 9.
Fair. Yeah, going through ring stress protocols at this point is a little bit of a moot point.
It's not worth it. But I mean, we still do all the fitness stuff as if she was still trialing. We still practice. We still go to like all the show and go mini fun run type things. If I can have treats on me in the ring, she's great. If I can't, she's not great. So we just go to things that I'm allowed to take treats and have like food on me for. 'Cause that's what's fun for her. Right. So that's why we do it. And then I have a red Australian cattle dog. She is a psychopath.
Now, I know her name. Obviously, I know all your dogs' names, but she's not named after the sports brand.
She's not. She's named after the Greek goddess of speed, and she definitely lives up to her name.
As a fast, and if, for anyone who hasn't put it together yet, her name's Nike, and she's
psychopath.
Full crazy. We love her to death.
We do love her to death.
She's gonna also partially be my Frisbee dog, and because my dog that loves tricks couldn't care less about a Frisbee. And so we play Frisbee every time I go over and hang out with you guys.
Yes.
And it's the best time. That's why I was like, we aren't going to be able to do interview style because we just talk too much normally to each other.
Yeah.
But I have 2 mixed breed dogs. They are litter mates, and they are insane. Their names are Dolly and Merle, named after Dolly Parton and Merle Haggard.
Yeah, and I didn't put that together for like 2.5 years when I went over to the house and saw a title certificate hanging on the wall.
Yeah, that was an entertaining day because that's usually the question I get asked, especially by older folks and dog sports, is like, oh, Merle Haggard? And I'm like, yeah. No one my age actually understands the reference, but also I don't even listen to him that much. My mom did, so that's why I know his music. But it is still very entertaining. I don't know if you've ever gone back and listened to his stuff, but it's all about getting stoned and having a great time. It's fun times. But they are 3.5 years old. They are litter mates. And Dolly has the cattle dog drive and lack of care for hurting herself.
Yep.
And if she could just take like half of Merle's caution about life in general and sudden sounds, I would have had a great sport dog with her.
Yeah.
I did have to pull her. We wanted to do agility. She was shaping up to be a phenomenal agility prospect. And unfortunately, mixed breed dogs, especially the breeds that she is, predisposed her horribly to hip dysplasia. Unfortunately, she was not set up for success from the get-go, and we are now dealing with that. And one thing you guys will come to learn is Michelle is a canine conditioning coach. So one of the things that, thank God you do, we have set up a dog gym, essentially, in my garage. We're in the process of making it fully functional.
We're working on it.
And Dolly lives for those sessions because she has to get that energy out. She is a full chaotic doodle mix, has to have the energy out, or she wants to destroy my stuff. And so last night I was telling you we were doing our Discord Monday evening stuff. She was holding a trot at 5 miles an hour for 5 minutes.
It's pretty decent.
Her brother, who is 4 to 5 inches taller than her, has a trot at 6.5 miles an hour. So I'm just like, oh my God. So we think she might do scent work. She's really not into it. She'd rather just go say hi to everybody. So I really think therapy dog is going to be more her thing.
Yeah.
And then Merle is starting to come out of his shell. And I blame a lot of your conditioning stuff for that because he is getting a lot better at ignoring random things moving because he makes them move randomly and gets food for it. So he's super excited about it now.
Yeah.
He does then push me to feed him anytime something weird happens now, which good problems to have. He has really taken to barn hunt. So he's been at 2 practices. I think we're going to go tomorrow night. I've just got to make sure I take a mask with me so I'm not having an asthma attack for the 3rd week in a row.
And Benadryl.
So he is loving it, but I need him to bark at the rats the same way he does the cat that lives in our neighborhood because he just kind of pauses for a split second and then moves on. So there's just a couple heartbeats of a moment, and that's his alert.
He is pretty subtle right now. See, but Dagon started out pretty subtle too. And then once I figured out what his tails were and he got a little bit more confidence doing it, it got easier for me to realize when he was in odor. And now, he's really easy to read.
Well, yeah, he looks at you and he sits, or he starts to because he's still recovering.
So he does have a trained alert, yes. But even without that trained alert, I can tell his body language changes when he gets in that scent cone. So,
and for those of you who are listening to this podcast, visually, if you were to be watching this on YouTube, I have videos playing right now of our dogs doing sports. And so you can actually see what we're talking about when we say their alerts. Also, Michelle, I need you to send me those videos. I have the few that we videoed together recently.
All right. I'll go through my library.
So training-wise, you, in dog sports world, you've been in it a lot longer than I have. I got my start, per se, watching agility as a kid and trying to teach my childhood basset hound how to do it, and that went about as well as you would think it would go of a kid who knows nothing about dog training trying to teach a basset hound how to do agility.
Now, I've seen some bassets run agility, and it's the best thing ever. It's fantastic. I love it.
They go at their own speed, and it is genuinely one of the most entertaining things to watch. But we had another dog that we'd rescued and had to put her down 18 months later because her lungs just stopped working. We still to this day don't know what it was. They think it was either an aggressive nasal cancer or a super aggressive lung infection.
Oh, weird.
So no idea. We didn't run the test because there was no point. She was already having a hard time breathing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was going to be my first sport dog. So then I had to wait for these 2. And all the chaos that has ensued. And somehow we ended up going from high energy, high level active agility to sniffy sports. I was attempting to lead into what kind of training and certifications we both have and got myself distracted by talking about barn hunt again because I genuinely am just loving barn hunts so much right now.
I mean, we both kind of have ADHD, so I expect this to go off the rails like before we walked in the door, and
It kind of did.
it's already happened.
There's
Like even before we started recording, we were already off the rail.
The case that holds all the equipment is sitting in the corner, and it took about 10 minutes to realize that the SD card wasn't in the machine to record. And then I had to go find somebody, and they were like, hey, it's in the case that's in the room. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So back to training and certifications.
Okay.
I only have my CGC. So I can do CGC, AKC, STAR, and tricks.
Like, yeah.
So, and I only have that certification for AKC.
Yeah.
Which is one of the venue options. I still make a lot of videos because I enjoy going through rule books and breaking them down. So if you're on YouTube and you've seen our Dog Sports 101 content, that is, I've only done dog sports for 2 years, but I understand the rule books a little more than I probably should because I find it entirely too fun to break them down. What training certs do you have, and what do they mean?
So I also have the AKC Canine Good Citizen Evaluator stuff. So I can do all of that too.
The one that I care most about, and we've alluded to it a few times.
I'm a certified canine athlete specialist. So that's a personal trainer for sport dogs. I also do like all of the AKC Fit Dog stuff. I'm a level 3 evaluator there too. But that canine athlete specialist is I say it's a personal trainer for sport dogs because really that's exactly what it is. So I can look at a dog and see what their structure, their angulation, their conformation, posture, top line, how their thigh connects to their knee, connects to their ankle, and like how their shoulder and their elbow are connected, like those angles. If they have like a flat top line, muscle mass, posture, and I can take that dog and I can design a fitness program like for that dog. Like I can give that dog a bunch of exercises to help improve those weaknesses and kind of work off of those strengths a little bit. Jazz and Merle were like you guys were my first case study.
Yeah, I definitely thought we were number 2 or 3. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, you were actually first.
Yeah. You guys were my first one. Now you may have been like the second or third one to actually like respond to say you were going to do that. But the first ones that I worked with was you and Merle.
What would you say the most entry-level dog sport would be?
I think Canicross.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
really.
Not what I expected.
No, I know. So think about it, right? So a lot of people are probably already doing that with their dog, right?
What is Canicross?
Canicross is taking your dog out for a run, essentially. It's cross-country running with a canine. So like you don't need a group of people to do it. You just need you and your dog and a leash and a harness.
Preferably.
All that stuff is really easy for like 95% of people to get a hold of, right? So you just put the harness and the leash on and you go like run with your dog, essentially. Now there is potentially some training involved as far as directional cues and having your dog not pull you after a squirrel or a rabbit or a duck when you're running through a park. But like other than that, it's very accessible. It's very inexpensive. And you don't need a community of people to do it. It's you and your dog. And a lot of people are already doing it and don't know that they're doing it. They don't know that that's what that's called.
Well, you actually definitely have me beat because that reasoning is so sound. I was actually going to say fast cat. And as soon as you said you don't have to have a community, I was like, nope, you're right.
Yeah.
Candy Cross,
Yeah.
by far,
Right?
is the most entry level.
Yep. So with Fast Cat requires pretty much no training for the dog. Either the dog does it or they don't. So you have the way Fast Cat is set up, you have a 100-yard track. I can't remember if it's in yards or feet.
100
but
feet would be so short.
Fair. You have a 100-yard track, and you have a string with a pulley system attached to it, and you tie some like plastic bags to the string, and your dog chases the bags on the string down this track, right? So to do that, you have to have a track. You have to have
the pulley system at least.
Right. You have to at least have a pulley system, which those can be pricey. And for like safety, that's not something that you really want to skimp on.
No.
So just like the upfront cost for that could be
if you're buying
difficult,
it yourself.
Right? If you're buying it yourself.
It is more popular, and it's growing in popularity exponentially because it requires little training, and it is an entry-level sport, which we'll go into the designations here in a minute on what that means. But that doesn't mean you're going to have a club near you that's got the space.
Right.
And then
or
it's
the
not
equipment.
Just 100 yards because you've got the run out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people hear that 100 and they're like, oh, that's a football field. It's actually slightly longer than a football field because if you count a football field, you've got the end zones, which are, if I remember correctly, 10 yards each. That would be 120 yards. If you're running anything that's not a sight hound, that might be enough room. Most sight hounds need like 30 to 50 to 60 even.
Yeah.
I've heard people saying they would prefer.
Yeah.
So like, that's a lot of space.
Yeah. You've got to have a lot of space at the end for the dog to slow down safely.
Yeah.
Without injuring their shoulders after they've ran that 100 yards.
So,
and you have to have somebody to either catch or release your dog, and you have to have somebody to run the pulley. So Fast Cat minimum requires 3 people, space, and equipment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not a
Never
lot.
Mind. If you don't have to provide all that yourself, it's a really easy sport to get into.
Yeah.
If you have to start it, it's not as easy.
Right.
Fast Cat will always have a special place in my heart, even though it's the reason we found out Dolly had hip dysplasia.
Yeah.
Because it's actually how we met. So we didn't even talk about this at the beginning of the episode.
No, that's fantastic.
I did not know what I was doing. Never done a dog sport in my life. Have been training Dolly for agility, but that's been in classes, in a building. This is something fun. I found out it was really close to my house, and I was like, cool, let's go see. My dogs like to chase squirrels. This should be easy, right? Well, it was, except for I did not know that I needed to bring a lawn chair. This is where, if you've on the website and you've seen the Fast Cat checklist of things to bring, this is where this came by. Because I was just taking notes on my phone the whole time of like, oh my God, I am so far in the I don't know what I'm doing category right now that I am just like hilariously talking to everybody.
Yeah, this is how we come up with all of our checklists on what new people need to bring when they go to a trial, is because we forgot stuff.
Yeah.
and we seriously regret it. So we're like,
oh man,
don't let this happen to you.
It was it was December. It was the December fun run. It was so cold that day. And it was like one of the last nice days we had that year.
Mm-hmm.
This was like two years ago because it was 2022 and recording this at the end of December 24. And so I'm walking around. I've heard a couple phrases that I like wrote down because I'm like, these are going to become stickers. That's actually where the "We're Running Naked" sticker comes from.
Yes.
And why it says Fast Cat Life on it is because that's where that came from. Someone, again, new to the sport, no idea what's going on. Someone who had done it from a club up in Kansas City, I think, was like, hey, we're going to run our dogs naked. And I turned around, I whipped my head around. I was like, you're what? And they're like, it means no collar.
Right. Yeah.
No collar, no harness, no nothing. And I was like, that is amazing. And I want that on a shirt. And they were laughing so hard at the concept of having that on a shirt for Fast Cat. I still haven't made the shirt, but I have a heat press now, so I mean to.
You have a sticker for that, though, don't you?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That was one of my first stickers that I put out. You can find it. You can find the original Etsy posting. I didn't fully know how to use my Cricut yet, so I had to like cut out around it. So yeah, now I'm like just awkwardly walking around trying to figure out what's going on. My dogs are being crated in my car with quotation marks around it because I didn't even have a travel crate. Like I just had them in the back seat of my car.
And some people do that.
Which is
that's
super
not
normal.
Uncommon.
It
yeah.
just also, you really don't want your dog jumping out of the car as soon as you open a door because that can cause a lot of problems really quick. And so I'm walking around. I'm tired. I think Dolly had run her second run, and it was the February one when she got hurt. So this one was the time we got 2 clean runs on both dogs.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, oh, God, these dogs are fast. Mind you, at this time, Merle was super overweight. He was like 80 pounds.
Yes, I remember that.
He is currently 65 and all muscle, and our vet is like almost worried about him gaining 5 more pounds in the last few months. And then she felt him and was like, oh, no, this is good. This is all just you're working him out more. And I was like, yeah, he turns out he likes the treadmill. And so I'm like walking around trying to see, because I don't want to leave yet. I'm just like, this is fun.
Right.
But a lot of people kind of already had their cliques formed up at this point and they were talking. And so I was getting a little nervous trying to find somebody to talk to. And I saw you were sitting by yourself off to the side on the far end of so like the line kind of went in the middle. Mm-hmm. And you were on the far sideline and I was on the nearer side.
Yeah, because I generally don't get to events like an hour early like everybody else does. So I don't get like the good parking spaces, which I'm fine with. Like I fully expect that. But like I'm going to stay home and do stuff for an hour instead of like
go sit out in the cold.
Go sit out in the cold and wait my turn. Right? So I got there at almost like the very last minute, like 5 minutes before it started.
Yeah. And so like I see you're sitting over there and I'm like, wait a second. That's a freaking healer. And so when I was a kid, when we were at my mom's, we were on a farm and our neighbors had healer mixes and they were hilarious. I loved those dogs. They made Nike not look like a psychopath. I think they were border collie cattle dog mixes.
Oh.
I don't know that for sure because they were farm dogs. So
fair.
Who knows
There's
what
no
they
telling.
were.
Right.
But they were chaos incarnate. And so I see you over there playing with this puppy cattle dog. And at this point, I've said hi to almost every person who has a puppy. Because usually when people have puppies, they're more welcoming to you saying hi to them.
Yeah.
Because they're wanting to socialize the puppy.
Right.
And so I come over, I'm like, is that a healer? And you were just like, yeah. And I don't know if you remember that entire day or not, but like I just immediately was like, you're now my new best friend.
Yeah. Well, that and like,
now you're stuck with me for the last 2 years.
Yeah. So, and then with Fast Cat, you also need somebody to like catch or release your dog for you. So it's a 2-person.
I asked you if
and
you
I didn't have anybody to like catch or release. Yeah. So we just kind of took turns catching and releasing each other's dogs. And Nike was she was born late April of 22.
I think she was just old enough for the puppy run.
She was just at 6 months. So Fast Cat for fun runs, they usually have like a bunny run for dogs between 6 months and a year. Because of like growth plates, it's fast, it's high impact.
And a bunny run is half the distance.
Correct.
So they run at most 50 yards.
Right.
And it's not timed. It's just to introduce them to the lure and get them excited.
Right.
Which we could do much better at than the full 50 yards. Like I understand the reasoning behind it for getting more people feeling like they get their money's worth out of it. But I've seen some sight hound people on TikTok showing, I think it was Zeba the Abesance, her username, but she was showing her youngest puppy that she had gotten, I think it was like 4 or 5 months old at the time, and they just like take essentially a flirt pole and they like get the dog going with the flirt pole, which is essentially a cat toy, but dog sized. And like that's how they introduce them to the lure, and then they just do like 10 yards at a time. So they build up to that full actual coursing distance with the baby dogs, because they don't, especially the sighthound dogs, they can hurt themselves so fast.
Right.
So yeah, we met because
Fast cat,
and the only time I'm extroverted is when I'm around dogs.
That's true. And dogs sport people.
We're all so awkward to the point where like if you're awkward around a dog person, they're probably going to end up talking to you because you're making them awkward. And it works sometimes.
Yeah.
That or you'll get a grumpy person who tells you to go away, but like that's so few and far between anymore.
It does happen, but not very often.
I'm actually gonna have to take notes while we're talking so we can make sure we circle back to all the random stuff that we say.
No, this is much better. So just go off the rails, man. It's what we do anyway.
So we had said that we were going to circle back to what is an entry-level sport and like what does that even mean?
Oh, yeah.
So from your perspective, what is an entry-level sport?
So it's something that, for my opinion, now I'm sure this is not like an official definition by any means, but it's generally something that requires like very little training, and that's easily accessible for the dog and the human to do with the dog, right? Like canicross, you need your dog a leash and a harness. That's it, and a place to run, right? Well, most people have that. That's very easily accessible, and it's inexpensive comparatively. So Fast Cat, I feel like, is also an entry-level sport. Yes, it requires a few more things, but generally speaking, not a whole lot. Right. And it's a very a smaller group of people to like put it on.
Right.
And there's not really, besides the fitness aspect of Fast Cat, there's no training involved, right? Either your dog is going to chase the bunny, they're either going to chase the lure, or they're not. Or they're going to do something that Nike does and step on the string and then
freak yourself out.
Nope out and just be done with it and go to the fence.
It's amazing how fast she stops the second she accidentally steps on that
She
string.
does. It's just, it's weird, which I get it, right? I mean, if I step on a string barefoot going, I don't know.
I don't run barefoot, so I wouldn't know.
15 miles an hour. It would, It's
like a really thin twine.
Sure.
So like,
well, I mean, that would feel weird on my feet too, right? Yeah.
Knowing what that string is, because especially if it's moving and she steps on it, which it is.
Yeah.
Like
it's going the same speed.
Merle.
It's going faster than she is.
Such a smart brain dog. I'm saying this very sarcastically if you can't pick up on that. I was putting his leash on him and he stepped his foot onto the string and just left it there.
Oh.
And they were like pulling the lure around to get it ready for the next person. And the person, I actually don't know what they're called. I'm going to call them gate steward for the ending, like the person who's there to tell the people at front that they're ready for another dog to come into it.
In like the catch box.
Yeah. Because there's only one dog in the actual area at once.
Right.
Fast Cat's not required to be fenced in, but a lot of them are just for safety.
Right.
Was like, hey, I think he's standing on that wire. I think he's standing on the line. And so I looked at it, and sure enough, he was just standing there with it moving under his foot like it wasn't bugging him. The amount of checking on his foot that I did that day to make sure he didn't just like cut his paw
have a
open.
burn or something. Yeah.
Like, a paw pad burn sucks. But a cut open paw.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those things don't stop bleeding.
Right.
They're such a pain in the butt. And so I just looked at him and he was so confused because I just kind of like grabbed his butt and moved his whole butt over because he had no idea where, like he he loses his brain when he's looking at Fast Cat.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've seen him actively bark in a sport is he gets so excited that he does the cat whinny that you've heard them do at the house when the neighborhood cat runs in front of our house. He does that to the Fast Cat lure.
Oh.
And so that's why I'm like, I think eventually when he figures out barn hunt is that exciting for him, he'll do that same thing. But I was just like, dude, can you not hurt yourself doing this, please? Like, I would like to have you at least be able to trial in this because it's fun.
Right.
Yeah, that was a fun day.
Yeah.
A very cold day.
Yeah. So I feel like Fast Cat is mostly entry level, because it really requires no training for the dog and pretty limited resources compared to other things.
Another one I think would be considered an entry level would be tricks.
Yep.
And the beginnings of tricks, because tricks very quickly becomes an advanced skill.
Yeah.
And most people know their sit, their down, their stay, and their paw, which is like a shake command for most people. It's so much fun when you get a dog that is either food or toy motivated and they just kind of flop themselves around. So like, I've never really taught Merle tricks in like a traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single one of our tricks has come from us just goofing around, which is also how I started teaching him rally stuff. Yeah. Because he got so bored so fast with just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so I would just like start mixing other things in.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost figured out a rebound just based on like my body positioning of trying to do a completely different trick. I'm just trying to get him to jump over my leg without me having to like sit on the ground. And then he started like putting his paws up on my hips. And so now we're working that with the climb to try to get him to actually target his feet on the same thing.
I gotcha. Okay.
Also kind of hoping maybe flyball would be in his future, which is not a sport we've brought up yet, but it's a really fun one. That is not an entry-level sport.
No.
That is, I don't even know what they call like the more advanced sports, advanced level. I don't know if there's a term.
There's a lot of behavior chains in flyball.
Flyball, if you haven't seen it before, super popular over in the UK. It's becoming more popular on stateside, but it is essentially the world's most intense game of fetch, but as a relay team of dogs. So you have, I believe it's 5 dogs on a team. You have to have 4 successful catches. They jump 3 or 4 hurdles. I'm blanking exactly on the number. And the hurdles are very short. It's like ankle height for the dogs. Unless you have a really short dog, then it's a full jump for them. And then they have to get this ball off of a platform that slightly pushes the ball out at them. So they actually have to catch it a little bit in midair, do a turnaround, and come back over the hurdles. So like, and when you're competing, you have 2 teams of dogs. So there's like 10 dogs that are, all super hyped at this point.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's very
really
high
loud.
energy. Right. Yes.
So don't do flyball if you have a dog reactive dog, probably, or like a super noise sensitive dog.
Yeah.
I mean, Merle's probably not going to do it.
Yeah, probably.
Somehow he doesn't like to retrieve anymore, but he's weird. He'll do it sometimes.
Yeah. So my other entry level sport is probably the one you were thinking I was going to say from the beginning is going to be scent work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Word of caution to anyone who gets into scent work is that it can feel boring at first because a lot of the foundation behaviors truly are. But if you don't get the foundations down, it is a lot harder of a sport than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And one thing that I know for more active people that's actually turned them off of scent work is the amount of time spent waiting.
Yeah, there can be quite a bit of waiting. It depends on how long you wait to train your dog after you set your hides out.
I thought you were going to say it depends on how long you decide to show up to a trial.
Well,
if you just show up like right before it starts,
so
you'd be
like
good.
Trials, I'm a little bit better about being on time or early for, right? Because at a trial, like I want to succeed and I want my dog to succeed, right? Like I've spent all this time training, I've spent all this money on entry fees to get into it. So trials, I try to get there a little bit early.
So she gets the better parking spots.
Well, no, just so I have time to acclimate myself and my dog and get, my crate space tweaked and set up the way that I like it and where my dog is comfortable and where I'm comfortable. Because I'm going to be there for like at least 2 days, sometimes 3, depending on what sport it is.
That is something we're going to have to come back to in another episode, is like actual trial prep.
Yes.
Which we do have planned for a future episode.
That is on our list for an upcoming episode topic, is how to prep for a trial and how to find trials and some etiquette things that you should and should not do when you're at a trial.
That's going to be an entertaining one.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Really hope we have a guest for that one, because there's some people I know who could have some real good stories to tell about that.
For sure.
We do want to, with this being the first episode, obviously it's a lot more talky and less about our personal experiences in trials, which we've both had a decent amount of. You significantly more than me because you've been in it longer. But we do want to end each episode with a foundation behavior exercise thing to do.
Right.
And this episode we had picked crate training.
Right.
Why is crate training important for dog sports? Because there's a lot of people who do not want to put their dog in a crate.
Right. So if you are interested in showing a dog in any dog sport, they're going to have to be crate trained. Like there is no getting around it. Because there's a lot of waiting at dog sports, and at trials, for your turn, right? And you need to make sure that, your dog is safe and comfortable while they're waiting their turn. And that everybody else's dog is safe and comfortable while they're waiting their turn. And you're also going to have to leave them, whether it's for a handler briefing so you can see the search area at a nose work trial, or if you're like going to walk the course in rally or agility, because for those sports you have like, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes.
Normally
10
like
usually
5 to 10 typically for agility,
to familiarize yourself with like what you're going to be doing with the dogs, right? You get a walkthrough, you get to talk to the judge, you get to see the search area, you get to ask questions, things of that nature. Your dog can't come with you on those walkthroughs. So you're going to need to make sure that your dog is in a safe space while you leave them, for that 10-minute time frame, to familiarize yourself with the course. And with scent work, there's only one dog out in the search area at a time. Right.
And like so agility, there's one dog per ring, but you'll have a queue of dogs. So you'll have a lineup of them. Yeah.
So if you're not actively competing or warming up or taking your dog out to potty, you're going to be, your dog needs to be comfortable in a crate.
Your dogs might be like mine, where they're totally fine in a crate, but we never take the crates out in public and practice with the dogs. So like, even if you're just trying to get an idea of where could I even start with this, would be get your dog used to the crate inside. And then your challenge would be over the next month until we give you another challenge, because these are going to be monthly, not weekly, because neither one of us can commit to that.
Right.
Take that crate somewhere else. Be it,
even if it's like,
go sit
start in your backyard. Right?
Backyard, front yard, if you have that option. If you're in an apartment complex, if you can sit them in your car, if your crate fits in your car, if you can like put the crate near your car parking spot. Trying to think, our apartment complex had a big grassy area, so like I could have gone and put a blanket down, because I'm allergic to grass, so I can't sit in it. fun times. And like put them in the crate there and just chill. And when they settle, they get their treat or their toy or whatever.
Right.
If they don't settle well, but they like to chew and things, it's actually a really good indication of if they're ready for that yet, or if you need to back it up and maybe be in a door frame or something. Is if they can chew on their chew toy or take some food from you or play with their toy, whatever their reward is, like if they'll do that in different environments. Then hopefully by the time you get to a trial, you're not like me with a dog who's going to scream the whole time you're trying to help with a trial.
Right.
And then make you mildly happy that they can't compete in that sport because it means that you get to volunteer without being the person with the screaming dog.
Yeah.
Which is always a fun time. So we've kind of alluded that that's going to be how we end not alluded, we did say that was pretty much going to be the ending segment for these videos or episodes, whatever we're going to call them. Future episodes, we talked about trial etiquette. We do at some point want to go over how it was hosting our first Candy Cross race last year.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to happen again this year. And then also bringing on other guests, so other people to talk about their experiences in dog sports and kind of lead you through different people's journeys, which is why it is actually called Tales of the Trials. It's not just going to be us
jabbering
talking about dog sports.
Right.
We are going to bring other people in to talk about their experiences with them. And then hopefully we are super lucky to have a rehab vet clinic. So multiple rehab vets in our city.
Mm-hmm.
And we really want to bring them on to talk about, you do the canine conditioning stuff,
right,
which is great because it makes recovery from injuries so much easier.
Oh, it's so much easier.
But we also have this amazing clinic of vet staff who take pain seriously to the point where they make me feel like I'm not overreacting every time. I'm like, oh God, they hurt themselves. And then they also have like some of this most state-of-the-art equipment to get your dog back into tip-top shape and then do the rehab stuff. So then you can get back to trialing and everything faster. So we'd love to get some of them on at some point. Yeah, we've got a lot planned for this. And hopefully people enjoyed it. If you did, please let us know because this was very entertaining, at least
for us anyway. For us, it was entertaining.
So yeah, if you did like it, do all the podcast things, which we don't know. I think it's like share, leave a review, leave a rating or whatever. And wherever we put this out, hope to see you guys in a month. Adios.